What are the top 5 things, or doesn't matter what the number is, what are the top things that we can practice that help boost our influence and our likability when it comes to body language?
Okay. Mm. All right. Confident and likable. We have three power zones. Our neck dimple, I was going to back up and show you a little bit. So, our neck dimple, it's our throat right here,
Our
our
neck
belly
dimple,
button.
is that the neck dimple like the little dip, the dip
Yeah,
in
that
there?
superstitial notch or however you
Okay.
say,
Okay.
where, your necklace lies right there. So, your neck dimple, your neck, your belly button, and then your lower extremity. I call it your naughty bits. It's from the Holy Grail. So your groin. I was on the Today Show, and I was with a guy sitting next to me, Ted from Queer Eye from the Straight Guy, the original Ted, the original guy, and he goes, "What are you talking about with Al Roker?" I said, "My neck dimple, your belly button, and your groin. You keep it open when you're confident and likable." He goes, "Please never say the word groin on a morning show." He said, say naughty bits. It's from the Holy Grail. I loved it, Mel, as you might imagine. And I went on there. I loved it. And I said neck, dimple, belly button, and groin. Why? But I love naughty bits because we need to practice. We need to practice, practice, practice. What you're learning today, you got to practice. Say, today I'm going to pay attention to belly buttons. So keep our neck dimple, our belly button, and our naughty bits open. Now let's talk about the belly button. I call this naval intelligence. We face our belly button towards people we like, admire, and trust. So if I'm flirting with Brad Pitt, but my belly button is facing George Clooney, everyone thinks I'm flirting with Brad. I want to hook up with Brad, but really my belly button wants to go home with good old George. In a meeting, count up how many belly buttons are facing you. If you have 50% of the belly buttons facing someone else, then that person
So
is probably your arch
funny.
nemesis. And if I were to give you a tip, emotional intelligence is being smarter. I would make sure I'd have meetings with that person first to get them on my side before going into that other meeting, because 50% of the ears are listening to that person. On a date, pay attention if the date is over. I'm a talker, right? So are you like talking past the sale, even in an intimate thing, like on a date? Right? Pay attention. That belly button is angled towards the door, to the car they want out. I call it naval intelligence. And it's our first connection to another human being. Our belly button was
Oh,
connected to
that's
the
true.
umbilical cord. So the belly button rule, I call it. So keep the three power zones open. Watch your pacifiers, those high level pacifiers. If you're nervous, and it happens, first of all, give yourself a positive trait, right? Plant that seed, that belief. And then if you need to pacify, do toe push-ups inside your shoe. So you're up there, never tell us you're nervous. Never say, "Oh, I'm not good at public speaking. I'm really nervous. I'm not good." Never do that. Because when you're nervous, we see it, and mirror neurons make us nervous and love you even more. As soon as you disclaim it and like, "Oh, I'm nervous. I've never done this before," we're like, "Ah, she figured it out." Don't let us in. Like, we are already seeing your body language. We're cheering you on. We love you so much. So instead, right here, do toe push-ups, 1 and 2 and 3 inside your shoes. We're not
What does
seeing
that
them.
do?
It's getting out that stress and anxiety.
Wow.
Instead of doing this, instead of benching your foot, instead of doing this, just get that stress and anxiety. When you move your body, you move your mind. That's why exercise decreases stress. In law enforcement, we get more confessions walking from the jail cell back to the interrogation room, or the interrogation room to the police car, than we do in the interrogation room. When you move your body, you move your mind. So sometimes we just got to get people moving. I like to say, if you're stressed, some people are anxious, right? So you have anxiety. By the way, if you are the type of person that you have anxiety and you say, "But what if this happens? But what if that happens? We need a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G," right? You're kind of gloom and doomy, and everyone lets you know it. Would you like to know what your superpower is?
Yes, you can see around corners.
Their superpower is they can lean back into the past, bring the past mistakes and past wins into the future, into now, and lean into the future and use that future now. They're trend spotters. They set goals, they measure progress, they update plans. These are
Wow.
the people. Every weakness that we have, you're lazy, you don't finish projects, 80% you finish, it's connected to body language. You don't finish projects, like my ex-husband, that's his cute nickname, I called him, lazy, right? I call him the 80% man. He'd paint a room and leave it 20% undone. And
How
then I
long were you
discovered
married?
20 years I was with him, but we get along great. He's one of my best friends, actually, by the grace of God. 20 long years. It's like SpongeBob, 20 years later. But know what his superpower was?
No.
A lazy person who doesn't finish work? Flexibility. When's the last time you thanked people for their flexibility? We spend every Christmas in Boston. He's from California. Every Halloween, every Easter, every Thanksgiving. When we go to movies, I pick the movie. When we're making dinner, I pick the dinner. I never thanked him for his flexibility, but I made fun of his laziness until I discovered, this is my next TED Talk, so you're getting a sneak peek, that all of our decision-making weaknesses have corresponding superpowers. So if you have people that don't finish projects in your life, I bet you they're the most flexible people in your life, and you may want to thank them and say, I didn't realize you have a superpower of flexibility, and I want to honor that and thank you for being so flexible.
What do you think is the biggest thing that you've learned after decades of studying human beings and this hidden second language that we all have that's helped you in your everyday life?
The biggest thing that I've learned, I would say that I believe in comebacks because I've experienced them. And I believe in comebacks, and I believe there's a story behind the story. Susan Smith was the most hated mother in the world at the time when she killed her 2 young sons because she was dating a guy that didn't want to date a woman that had kids. Later became Casey Anthony. And then now there's others. But Susan Smith drowned her 2 kids, and she was the most hated mother. And what most people don't know is she started being raped and molested by her father at like 3 and 4 years old. So it makes me emotional. As a mother, just imagining my kids at the age of 3. And I'm not saying what Susan Smith did was justified, but I'm saying there's a story behind a story. And, there's that expression, and they quoted it in that, what's that soccer movie? That soccer TV series, Ted Lasso. In one of the episodes, they quoted it, stop being so judgmental and start being curious, asking questions. And I think that there's a story behind the story. And Susan Smith was raped by her dad her whole childhood. Even as a young woman, continued to happen. And then in her young teens would go back to the dad's house and have sex with her dad. And so I'm always interested in, what's the story behind the story here? Can I find a little bit of compassion or empathy? And I believe in comebacks because I've experienced them. And I'm a work in progress all the time. I'm an eternal student. I was at this event this morning. I sat in there for 5 hours because I wanted to learn. I took about 5 pages of notes just listening to 2 CEOs who this company, Paylocity, just hit the $1 billion mark for the first time. I wanted to hear every word they had to say. They were asked, what's the biggest thing that they learned at working together in their life? And I'm taking notes, right? So I think that, I don't know, I believe in comebacks. That's it. You had a comeback.
I've had multiple. Of course I do.
Yeah.
And I also believe in what you were talking about, which is when you seek to understand something, it doesn't condone what somebody did, but it can explain why it happened.
Listen, I was molested as a kid. I could have became a Susan Smith. I happen to have a mother that loves me so much that she took this pain and believed me. And she used to say, Janine, I could drop you in a room with 100 strangers and you leave with 100 friends. Now, first of all, that's not true. I would leave with 50 friends and 50 people who never want to see me again because I talk too fast and I'm just a little too much for some people. I you know what that is? It's a good to know. And
that's kind of my favorite thing that I learned today.
Yeah, I love a good to know.
That it's a good to know. That's
Andrea
good to know.
Quinn. Andrea Quinn. Buy her book. I don't know what it's called, but buy her book. And it's like 8. It's Andrea Quinn. She calls them the 8 Quinn essentials for women to have their dreams come true. Something like that. I may be misquoting it, but good to know saved my life all the time. And I love teaching what I'm teaching. If I can help anyone, like please. I love. My mother always said, "Your power is what you give to others." So
can you explain a couple examples of eye blocking?
Yeah, so a murderer named Chris Watts killed his pregnant wife, Shania, and his 2 young daughters, Celeste and Bella, little ones, like under the age of 6. And when he was being interviewed, and not only him, we have Ted Bundy, we have Susan Smith, who I brought up earlier, drowned her 2 kids. So these are criminals, of course. I weigh in on criminal. I say if you can decode the body language of murderers, I did a TED talk, decode the body language of murderers to have a life you love. because they have everything on the line, right? If they're going to be good at lying, it's now, because they are going to lose their life potentially, or their freedom at the very least. So if you look at all those people, I think Ted Bundy, and then there was the other guy that killed his pregnant
Scott
wife,
Peterson.
Scott Peterson. If you look on my TED Talk, I tell you how long they eye block. And so sometimes they'll just talk like this with their eyes closed. I think Susan Smith was something like 16 seconds. So if right now, I'm closing my eyes if you see me, everyone close your eyes and just talk out loud and say, what's your biggest thing you've learned today that you like? You know, Mel just said she loves the good to knows from Andrea Quinn, right? That have impacted my life. So just, I'm going to give it a hot second.
This is so weird.
Just close your eyes, Mel. You do it for me. Closing your eyes. Tell me
Okay.
something else that you really loved learning today. Well, closing your eyes. Do not open them.
I really did love the good to know, and I'm really freaked out by how weird it is to talk with my eyes closed, and I'm trying desperately not to shrug my shoulders at the same time.
Okay, that was about 11 seconds, all
Oh
right?
my God, that's so weird.
Yes. So if you can just, I say you can't unexperience it, unhear it, or unsee it. So when you see something weird or you hear something weird, slow down and try it on. Casey Anthony, the mother, her name is Cindy Anthony, Casey Anthony's mother. So she's the grandmother of Kaylee Anthony. She called the police on 911 and said, my daughter's been missing, and I just found out my granddaughter's been missing for 30 days, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the trunk of the damn car. When police interviewed Casey Anthony about the smell in her car, she said, dead squirrels climbed into my truck, climbed into my engine and re-died. Dead squirrels climbed in my engine and died. That's what she said. So if they're dead, how are they climbing? And then they re-died? Are they zombie squirrels? But our brain plays tricks on us, Mel, and you at home. Dead squirrels climbed in my engine and died. And what our brain does is says, oh, what she means is a squirrel climbed up into her trunk and died. Roger Clemens, did you cheat in baseball and take steroids? He said, how do I prove a negative? What? You mean, how do I get people to know that I'm telling the truth? Our body and brain does not want us to lie, and they're having a conversation with one another. So the tells are there. We only talked about a handful today. There's over 5,000 body language and words that have hidden meaning. Words have hidden meaning. If I said to you, Mel, I just left my office. I'm going to get to the restaurant 10 minutes early, Mel. Take your time. I've got some work I can do. What's my hidden meaning in what I just said? Do you know? I just left my house. I just left
That you're not
office.
that you haven't just left.
Some people will think I didn't leave and I'm trying to, cover my ass for when I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
Some people think I'm being passive aggressive and I'm saying be there because I'll be there early. And maybe those things are true, but here's what I want you to focus on. The word left equals strife. I left my husband. I left my job. If someone emails you, text messages you, tells you on a phone or face to face, and they use the word left, they're telling you about something that happened that involves strife, some problem. I just left my house, just as a minimizing word. So you, Mel, might say, if you were smart in sales, or my friend, Janine, is today still a good day? I'm free all week if you want to get together another day. Is today good? Oh, Mel, do you mind? I'm having a tough morning. Or if you can't cancel that meeting, when I arrive, don't start pitching me whatever you're pitching me. Stop and say, hey, is everything okay, Mel? Is everything okay this morning? Everything all right in the office? Because left, L-E-F-T equals strife. I left my job. I left my husband. So there's 5,000 words with hidden meaning, 5,000 body language. We just had a sneak peek. Hopefully something sticks. And I got to tell you, the Andrea Quinn, good to know, game changer for me. My son Angus, his girlfriend just broke up with him, his first girlfriend. He was all upset. And she was bad-mouthing him at the school. And she broke his heart. And she was saying something loud enough for him to hear it. And he came in and he's laughing. He just took the ACT test this weekend. He came out laughing of the school. I go, why are you laughing? He goes, she wanted me to take the bait, but I didn't take the bait. She said, I didn't text her this morning, so she's going to hate me for the rest of her life, but I was going to say happy birthday if I saw her. I didn't text her because she broke up with me, but I would have said it if I had alone time with her. And he goes, she badmouthed me. I go, why are you laughing? He goes, because it's just a good to know.
Oh.
I saw a side about her that I didn't know existed. So I love sharing what we learned from you, Mel Robbins, from people like the Andrea Quinns of the world, and people like my mentor, Jim Kavanaugh, and other mentors I've had. I love sharing it with people, including my kids, and to rewrite our story, because I believe we are all entitled and deserve a comeback. Everybody.
Everybody. And one final thing, you're on a date and you really like this person, or you're in a job interview and you really want the job. What is a body language move that you can use to signal pick me, power, confidence? What do you do?
Two things. Number one, how you start the date or the job interview, I want you to end it. So if you start with a hug, I want you to end with a hug. If you start with a handshake, I want you to end with a handshake. We blow the ending so many times, especially in business, because that's called the recency effect. The recency effect is those last couple moments that you had with me. What happened there? So if I'm in an interview and you get a call and you're like, excuse me, Janine, it was a pleasure meeting you. I got to take this call. I still want you in a second to lean over that table, stretch out your hand. Not a problem, Mel. It was great to see you again. Boom. Get that handshake. We blow it on the ending. We blow it on the ending. So bookend that, right? So bookend it with that handshake or the hug. Okay. That's number one. Number two, where you sit is making a difference. Stop sitting directly opposite people. This is the fighting pose. On dates or in job interviews, the seat is right across from the person interviewing me, or you go to the Outback Steakhouse and you're in a booth. Do not sit directly across from this potential new significant other. You want to be 30% off center. And there's advanced techniques on which side. We'll have to talk about that another time. But be at the very least 30% off center. Here's why. They have a visual way out. It will decrease their stress and anxiety. You'll have a visual way out and decrease yours. Feel what it feels like tonight at the table or at work. Sit directly across from someone, shake their hand and say, I'm so happy you're here. Tell me what you love about our family. Then come in, move the chair 30% off center, and have that same conversation. Watch what happens. We're all energy at the end of the day, right? I mean, we're always constantly changing. My friend at the FBI, Frank March, you should have him on. He says, everything says something. Everything says something. Even no facial expression says something, right? 30% off center. But Janine, if I go into an office and the chair's right there, you want me to move the chair? Yeah, I do. I want you to come in, shake their hand, move the chair, 30% off center. When it's done, you shake the hand and you put the chair back. So bookend it. I end all of my days with my 3 children with, I call them up, down, ups. Something good that happened today, something not so good, and something good that happened today. Up, down, ups. So we say, what are your up, down, ups? I teach my kids, for every one bad thing, there's a good thing, bookending it. And bookend it. You know, what are your you can use up, down, ups for yourself, for your family. I realized my 3 kids weren't sharing, you know, how was your day? Good. Up, down, ups, I know very specific information. Just like you give information in that sandwich, you know, negative feedback, you put it in the middle, right? If not, I wouldn't give it at all. I never take pictures of bad body language, ever. Because this Andrea Quinn, she teaches you how to figure out your 5 I ams, who you are, who you were born to be. And I am truth, I am power, I am generosity, I am a healer, and I am open. And healer, I said to Andrea Quinn, I am funny. You know, I used to do stand-up comedy in my 20s in New York. I opened up for Chris Rock, Robin Williams, Ray Romano when I was 25. I have no pictures to prove it, Mel. And I said, I'm funny. She said, no, funny is I am a healer. And it shifted my sense of humor like that. How we talk about ourselves will change our actions, our body language. It goes back to that roots of the tree. So when I take pictures, I used to take pictures of bad body language and I would show it. Don't do this, do this. At the butt of the person with the negative body language. Now I use my humor for healing. I'll come in from the back of the room. I love elbow pops, by the way. An elbow pop, very 30s,
I love an
40s,
elbow
50s
pop too.
chic. Yeah, you pop your elbow over the chair. We'd see Liz Taylor do this with the long cigarette. Look at me, boys, look at me. Very confident to do an elbow pop, casual confidence. And I'll go to the back of the room and I used to say, oh, look at this person. They're important or they think they're important. And everyone would laugh. Now I go, look at this person. They're important or they're on their way to becoming important. On the break, make sure all of you get a picture with this person because someday you may be working for them. And that lens shift of I am a healer, my humor is used for healing, goes back to our words. Create the seeds that then create what I believe about myself, then changes my body language and changes what I think. And so it's constantly going there.
I am really excited to introduce you to a woman that I met over a decade ago. She has spent over 2 decades decoding body language, trained by the FBI and the CIA. She has studied the biggest murderers on the planet in history. This is also an episode about empowerment. There are simple things that you can learn to do to gain more influence, to be more persuasive, and to exude confidence. We're going to go true crime, murderers, and job interviews all in one episode. I can't wait for this.